Oh, thank you very much. This is my first visit to Taiwan. It's really a pleasure to be here and see how much great open source and Linux and free software development is happening. So they proposed the talk title for me of software design in a virtual environment, and I thought about what this meant. I thought maybe a virtual environment was something like this, but on reflection, probably no. I think what a virtual environment means is what we do all the time with open source development, that we're not in the same room working together, we're doing it all across the net. You might do some of the best work of your career in an open source project, you might make money from it, you might build a product that people really like, and you might do all of this without meeting all of your co-developers face to face in the usual way. So if you think about this, all of your interactions with the project and your collaborators are mediated by the software that you use, whether that's a version control system or Redmine, like we saw previously, or lists, email, whatever it is. The software that you use shapes the experience, and that shapes the product that comes out, and the experience you have with the product shapes your own evolution as a developer. So I wanted to have a look today at three different particular phases of the software design and development process. Internationalization, which seems relevant here, bugs, and code contributions. Of course, there are many other things. I'd like to present for each of them a few thoughts on what I've learned about these topics from doing open source development for a while, and also a few thoughts on how we do Canonical and how that meshes in with what we're trying to build in Launchpad and in Bazaar. So for a bit of background, as Miriam was kind enough to say, I've been doing open source development probably for 15 years, something like that now. Some moderately successful projects with CC and so on that I've written or been involved with. The two things I'm working on at the moment, both also open source projects, both sponsored and very heavily used by Canonical. Bazaar, a powerful open source version control system for sharing and collaborating on code. And Launchpad, which is a website for looking into project hosting, for storing your code, for doing bug tracking and user support, code hosting, code review, translations, package builds, and much more. Launchpad for a while was proprietary to Canonical. The source is now entirely open. You can get it and make changes. We hope you'll contribute them back to us, and then we can keep on benefiting everyone else who's using Launchpad, either for work on Ubuntu or some of the distribution or their own project. One thing that's different in what we're trying to do with Launchpad compared to a system like, say, Track or Redmine is that we're very focused on integrating a view across different projects. And I'll show you a bit about how in particular later on. So it's more something we see as people coming together to use the same site and aggregate their information than something that people would download and have lots of local instances of it. So to start with internationalization, I love traveling. I've been lucky enough to go to some very interesting places in this recent job, Taiwan high up on the list. When I thought back on this topic of internationalization, I thought of this little program that I wrote years and years ago now on what these days looks like a very primitive and basic PDA, or handheld computer, the Palm 3 here. The program was simple but useful. It let you store secret information on the Palm Pilot, and it would encrypt it with a low password, so you can have your passwords for all different machines in there safely. I wrote this and put it up on the web, and quite soon people started sending me translations of the user interface elements, and it into French or Norwegian or all kinds of different languages, I think 20 altogether. And maybe this is common to you, but for a person growing up in an English-speaking country, it's actually very it's a very cool and very special experience to see your program that you wrote speaks a language that you don't speak yourself. And it's also very cool that people can use open source and can use these programs in the language that they feel most comfortable in. Our vision for Ubuntu is to bring free software to everyone, to people who maybe don't even know about it yet. And part of that has to be reaching out to people who want the software language other than English, who want to support and the whole picture in the language that best suits them. So we work a lot on both community building and technical tool building that will help us reach them. And our vision for internationalization is that to help translate software, all you need to know is English and one other language. You don't need to be a programmer. You don't need to be very technical. And there's a lot of different software packages and programs that go into making a full distribution. We want to try and get synergy between them so that people who are editing, you might have a small software package that is useful, but perhaps just has a few developers. They might not develop a real culture of internationalization themselves, but if we can join more projects together and build up a common momentum, that may get us better results. And to grow networks and teams around people who are interested in producing a really good Filipino version of Ubuntu or Baltic version of Ubuntu. So, what does this mean specifically? If you go into Launchpad, and click through to a particular package in Ubuntu or to a particular upstream project, you can see this graph view showing for this program also all of the different languages that people might translate it into and how far it's actually been translated. We can, and here is a code for what the different colors mean. So it's the degree of progress that somebody has gone through. If we click through into one of them, then you can see here the some of the English strings that occur in this program, and then the translations for them. I have a this is maybe a more interesting translation.